Thinking logically didn't just change my life, it saved my life. After high school, I became an electrician, a lineman. I loved it, but when I was 20, I fell, broke a vertebrae, and that was that. For the next 3 years, it was hospitals, doctors, operations, therapy. When I finally was able to go back to work, well, I'm a disabled person. I can't go back to being an electrician, which is the only thing I knew. I couldn't do any type of physical work, so I tried a normal office-type job and discovered that I couldn't do that either. I needed to be able to take an hour or two off when my back hurt, a day or two off when my back hurt, and that you don't get that type of flexibility in normal jobs. And so I had no idea what I was going to do with my life. I'm a disabled person. I can't work at a normal job anyway. So I figured I would have to create my own job. And where do you start with that? Well, you start with more education. So 8 years after high school, I start university. I am real nervous at the beginning. I have no idea whether I can actually do the work. It's a long time since I've studied. But that I was very lucky, and I chose a course called Logical Self-Defense in my first semester, and it changed my life. It taught me how to think logically. It taught me the 3 key skills: how to learn, how to think, and how to communicate. Now, I'm going to give you now a list of all of what I've learned, the skills and the attitudes that thinking logically entail. And then at the end, I'll tell you how I ended up using them. I'll finish the story. So, when you think logically, the first thing you have to do is you have to learn to respect the quality and the nature of information. What's a fact? What's the difference between a fact and an opinion, truth and belief? You have to pay attention to where information comes from. If I have a fact and I got it from the New York Times, is there any difference if I got it from some random tweet on Twitter? Yes. You learn to classify and organize and evaluate information. There's too much information out there. You cannot deal with it all. You have to find a way to make it a small amount of information, and that's where classify, organize, evaluate. You have to be able to separate the facts from the words. People aren't often very good at communicating, and that if you just look at their words, listen to their words, you can get confused. Some types of occupations actually try to do that. After this, I learned to make and analyze arguments. An argument is not husband and wife. An argument is a series of reasons to support a conclusion. And that arguments are everywhere. They're arguably one of the most important things you do in your life, not just school, essays and exam questions, or work, business cases, but that deciding which car to buy, which house to buy, where to go on vacation, how to get your boss to give you a raise. These are all arguments. I learned that not all facts are equal. What's a key point? What makes a point key? I learned to focus not just on what I had, but what I'm missing. And that often what you're missing is really where the answers are. From that, I learned all about questions. A dumb question will always get a dumb answer. And I learned what makes a good question and what makes a good answer. There's also attitudes and ways of thinking that are necessary if you're going to be good at thinking logically. And at the beginning, at the start, you need to be open-minded, you need to be fair, respectful, and reasonable. You can't start off by going, I'm always right. No one can teach me anything. I already know the right answer. that's not thinking logically. You have to start with the idea that, hey, maybe I'm not right. Maybe that person knows more than me. Maybe I can learn from them. That is thinking logically. You can't start with the idea that I am going to convince everyone that my idea is the best. No. You have to start with the idea that I am going to try to find the right answer, the best answer. I call it best idea wins. You have to focus on facts, not people. Dumb people can say smart things. Smart people can say dumb things. Normally, you don't need to know anything about where an idea comes from to evaluate and analyze that idea. Well, all of these, you add them together, and I learned to think, learn, and communicate. If you can do these, you can do anything. So, what happened to me? Well, that nervous young man who started university graduated 5 years later with a master's degree. I moved to Taiwan, where I knew no one, and learned Mandarin, which I had no previous experience with. I started a company. I had no idea about that, but that I learned how to manage people, and I built the company to 25 people before my back just wouldn't let me continue. I'm still a disabled person. And so I sold the company, and from 1990 on, I worked for myself in two main areas. One of them was management training. The other was as a productivity consultant. In management training, basically was three things. I taught Chinese how to think logically. Still, my favorite thing to teach, my favorite job. I love teaching that class. And then I taught cross-culture. I taught Westerners how to work with Chinese, and Chinese how to work with Westerners. I've been all over the world teaching these programs. Then, as a productivity consultant, well, I had no idea what a productivity consultant did, but I had clients who started as students asking me, Greg, can you do this? And that I'd gained enough confidence by now that I said yes to everything anyone asked me. And so I taught myself how to manage a project, how to lead a team, and then I learned and led quality management, business process improvement, re-engineering, performance management, and that I led multicultural teams up and down East Asia for 25 years. Am I special? No, I don't think so. I think basically anyone can do what I've done. Look, being smart is not about IQ. It's not about experience, knowledge, education. Smart describes activity, your brain at work. Smart depends upon how well you use your IQ, your education, your experience, your knowledge. And how best to use it? Thinking logically. Look, I cannot promise you that you will have a fantastic, successful life. But I can promise you that learning to think logically will change your life, and it will be the most useful thing you ever learn. So, it changed my life. Come on inside. Let it change yours. I look forward to seeing you in a classroom soon. Thank you.